You hate to see it. You really do. And I'm not being facetious on this one. You really hate to see this. This is a tragedy. For those of you that don't know, Chicago, well, everyone knows. What am I saying? Chicago is one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. It ranks highest in crime and all kinds of other nasty metrics. You can see here, crime in Chicago has its own Wikipedia page, okay? Total violent crimes are almost 1,000 total in the year. Annual property crime, nearly 3,000 incidents. Okay, this is 2011. It's not gotten better, folks. Everyone knows this, okay? Didn't get better with Obama. As president, he's supposedly from Chicago, so you'd think he would care, but I digress. Well, it brings me to this. And before we get into the story, if you don't mind, hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then let's move on to the real news. Because this is a sad story, and it doesn't need to be belabored, but it's important that people know what's going on. This is today in Chicago. This is Chicago youth activist Caleb Reed, who fought for a school board to invest in students over the police, is fatally shot. The key here is he's trying to defund police. Okay, this is a teenage activist in Chicago who mid-June stood before the news crews to call for the removal of police, specifically from schools, and then to end the over-policing of black youths. Well, he's been fatally shot. By whom, you may ask? Well, Caleb Reed, 17, was found lying on a sidewalk with a gunshot wound in his head Friday afternoon, police said. So this is a couple days ago. Reed died in a hospital Sunday morning. So he was found. He obviously was non-responsive, vegetabilized. Now he's dead. No arrests have been made. That's the key point. He wasn't shot by police. He was killed by someone in town, and you better believe someone knows who did it, and you know no one's going to say who, because that is the culture that exists in Chicago. Snitches get stitches. It's not even that. It's worse. Snitches get killed, so they're not going to say anything. Why would they rat on someone who just committed murder? The punishment for ratting on a murderer is what? Hello? Think about it. If you tell on someone who robs someone, you can expect you probably get beat up and robbed. If you tell on a murderer, you'll probably get murdered, especially if they get away with it. So he was found. He's deceased now, unfortunately. R.I.P. Caleb Reed. A freedom fighter, they say. Speaking at a press conference saying hashtag cops out CPS. A beautiful soul. Rest in peace. Well, a beautiful soul that argued to defund police, to remove them from the school, and then sure enough, he ends up dead. If it were my bet, I would say more police being around, he may have been saved. If a police officer was standing right next to him, he may or may not have been shot. If this was like a stray bullet incident, then there's a chance that that's not true, and he would have been shot either way. Maybe the cop stood on the other side of him and takes the bullet. After all, that is metaphorically what the police do, and in real life, what police do. They actually physically stand in the way of harm from the citizens. That's what they're supposed to do. So if he's arguing, get rid of the police, let's get the police out of here, well then, are we surprised that he is the victim? I mean, it's poetic justice, literally. It is a Kendrick Lamar song waiting to happen. This continues. As a student leader with the social justice group Voices of Youth in Chicago Education, Reed shared his story of a traumatic arrest at age 15 when a school officer had taken him to the county jail for not having a student ID. That seems a little odd, but don't you think maybe it was like, well, I was acting out of order, I got sent to the office, someone stopped me and asked for my ID because I wasn't going to the office, I was just kind of loitering around, and then they said, look, if you can't prove who you are, you're not being cooperative, you're not going to go to the office, we're going to tell you we'll arrest you, and you're probably like, I'll do whatever I want, I don't have an ID, so off to jail, that'll teach them a lesson, so they thought. No, I'm a victim now, oh my god. Back in the day, not my day, I'm too young for this, but back in the day, a school liaison, an officer liaison to the school, would basically be like a beefed up security guard. You saw him at school dances, you saw him in the hall, and the most they could do is be like, hey, you parked in a spot the wrong way, go park your car. And you'd be like, all right, I'll move it when I move between classes. And they'd say, oh, you can't drive between buildings, between classes. And you say, oh, yeah, okay. And then the most they do is give you like a fake little like parking ticket that's not real, and so it's not enforceable. You throw it away, and the cop kind of pulls you aside one day and says, "Hey, you give a lot of guff," and you're like, "Okay, well, show some respect, and I won't give so much." And then that's the end of it, and then you be friends with the cop. That's what happens if you're a good person. You don't really break the rules. You may bend a few occasionally, and that's high school. This says, hey, I'm 15. I'm going to be defiant. I'm going to tell you no. I'm not going to show you my ID. I don't even have an ID. I don't keep my ID on me. I don't need to. The rules don't apply to me whatsoever in any world. So they say, well, here, we'll show you a quick lesson. Let's go to the clink. I felt angry. My emotions felt big. Well, what were the facts there? Let's ask. Reed told the Post at the time. So this is when he was 15. He discussed how he would rather see the school board use the budget spent on the police liaison officers to instead fix up facilities and invest in mental health counselors and school nurses. Yeah, because when people are being violent, what you need is a bunch of nurses to medicate the people who are sane enough to call it out. And then for those who are insane enough to just be sitting in the corner rocking back and forth, wetting their pants, they'll be there for them too. Quote, we shouldn't have to go through this, Reed said. I wouldn't want my kids to go through this. We should try to find a resolution now. I got an easy resolution, dude. School gave you an ID. You can bring it. Bring it to school. Bring your ID to school. And bet you bring a pencil too, because I bet you he's the kid every day when the teachers are like, all right, everyone, blah, 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 blah. He's like, miss, I don't have a pencil. Well, every day with these people. We all know who these kids are. I don't have my ID. I don't have my pencil. Oh, miss, I need an eraser. Yeah, I know. You need a big, fat life eraser. Like an eraser for all the mistakes you've made in your life. I don't want to be misconstrued. On Monday, Chicago activists, including members of the Chicago Teachers Union and city leaders, mourned Reed's death. Alderman Andre Vasquez, who represents the 40th Ward where Reed lived, tweeted where the teen has, quote, a light in our community, or rather he was, a light in our community that was extinguished too soon, unquote. Vasquez urged people to address the root causes of gun violence and urged and continued the work that Reed supported. Well, so there it is. Vasquez then says, as one of the aldermen of the 40th, he says, well, we ought to defund the police. We ought to bring the police out of the school, get the school's money out of funding the police officers specifically so that we can fix up facilities and bring on nurses. I don't think the nurse can do much for you now, Caleb. I don't think that a counselor, I don't think a nurse, and unfortunately, even a police officer can't do anything for you now. But a therapist, a nurse, a teacher, a counselor, none of those people could do anything for you right before you were shot either. The police officer could. And if there were one around, you have to wonder, would you still be around, Caleb? Maybe harsh for me to say that, but I have no empathy for someone who just argued to remove the only protector. In many cases, when people go to school, the only thing that's really protecting them from actual harm is the fact that there is symbolically a police officer standing by the door. A police office liaison, that person, the officer at the school, is responsible for basically enforcing the law at the school, but also they're a main deterrent for school shooters. So if this person's like, hey, yo, we got to get the officers out of here and make this place nice, well, then it's a soft target for shooters, and you have a bunch of kids now sitting ducks. So this kid argued that their protector ought to be removed so that he, right there, can be the host of a nice press conference, have a bunch of people behind him. How'd it work out for you, Reed? How'd it work out for you, Caleb Reed? Not very well. Again, I know this is harsh, but it's important that the other 17-year-olds in Chicago understand they absolutely need their police officer liaisons. They need multiple police officers, and they need them around. They need them around in force. They need them to be serious. They need them to know who the bad kids are that are swapping guns after school and going out gangbanging, because those are the kids who killed Caleb Reed. And they know that. These 17-year-old kids, if any one of these 17-year-old kids sees this, they will know this is true. Anyways, again, like the video. Comment your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share this. And then remember to do anything else that you can do to keep America afloat.